Almost everyone feels awful at some time or another in their life. I guess the idea behind depression, the diagnosis, is that you don't really stop feeling awful. But personally, I don't like that simplification of definitions. Depression is different for everyone, depending on upbringing, genetics, or other underlying disorders that haven't been fully addressed. And that's what makes it so hard to deal with. You can see someone else trying something. They're similar to you, and it works really well for them. And then you try it out, almost one-to-one, and it fails spectacularly, and you don't know what went wrong. And I'm not saying certain things don't help. Therapy and talking through one's issues is generally a tremendous help, but it's not always as easy as saying, I'm sad, then whoever you're talking to, whether it be a therapist, a prescriber, or a doctor, giving you a bunch of different prescriptions, and then you taking pill and being happy. It's never going to be that simple, and personally I attribute that to a lack of self-care, as well as the world for oneself. And as an example of lack of self-care, I'm going to use myself. Because, well, it's my channel. I rarely brush my teeth. It's disgusting. And I'm well aware. But it's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. I don't brush them, and it's not because I forget or because I'm lazy. I think it's just one of those little things where I just don't see the point. When I don't shower, even for a day, I feel disgusting. I feel the oil all over my skin, and it just makes me shrivel inside myself. And I make a point of getting that hot shower out of the way as soon as I can. Or shaving. I get itchy on my neck. I can feel it growing out of my sideburns. And I don't like that feeling, so to a lesser extent, I make a point of shaving. But for some reason, I just don't brush my teeth the same way. I don't see the point as much. It just doesn't bother me in the same way, and that's kind of alarming. And I like the idea of keeping clean in all ways, but I just can't get it out of my subconscious that it's pointless. It makes food taste bad. Your mouth gets all foamy, and I don't like the bristles at all. And it's such a first world problem, and it's so childish. And I'm well aware of how trivial it is, but it's a great example of one of those little things that just gets left behind in the name of conserving mental energy. And the way I see it is these little things that you just decide not to do, adding up into a big thing that you just end up not seeing the point of, like getting out of bed. What's the point of getting out of bed? And then it might go further and be much worse, to put it mildly. Depression is a single word to describe an endless number of complicated circumstances. And usually, you never even see them. Because people with depression smile often, in public at least. Because, at least from my experience, closing yourself off to those thoughts is so much easier in the moment than taking a second to understand how you're doing. You forget your own feelings for the time being, and forget the emptiness and indifference that comes with it. Talking to anyone with an emotionally vulnerable tone, or like any sort of pain, becomes more and more uncomfortable as you age. You think your problems are kind of meaningless compared to others. It's like when you're a kid at the dinner table and you don't want to eat like the broccoli on your plate, and your parents would say that there are kids starving in Africa who would kill for a plate of food, the plate of food you have in front of you. And I think that mentality is kind of damaging and hard to undo. Just because your problems are quote-unquote trivial doesn't mean they aren't problems. Just because you don't want the vegetables, and just because someone else could really use the vegetables, doesn't mean those two problems aren't problems. It's not fair to compare them. And everyone has something they do on a daily basis that they hate, and that comes out like a problem to them, like work, or in a much worse case, coming home. Okay, I talked a lot about the problems. What solutions are there for these? And honestly, I don't know. To be honest, there's no one answer to solve everything, and that's the terrifying part. That at times life can truly suck, and you're never gonna know what to do about it. The planet might be uninhabitable by 2050. There's a bigger wealth disparity than there was during the Gilded Age of American history. Half the world is on fire, and to make sure that fire is playing fair, it torches the other half every 6 months. We are constantly on the verge of nuclear disasters, and apparently Stephen Hawking was a pedophile. But that doesn't mean you can't find a way to live your life within the confines of this chaos. Life can be fun, and it's important to have fun with others who are like-minded. Find outlets for your interests. Do cool things. Sit in your bedroom in the middle of summer when you're supposed to be outside playing video games, because that's the kind of stuff you like to do. As long as you're having fun, you're doing an amazing job. My dad is always telling me, don't settle for what you have now if you can get something more. But honestly, I'm perfectly content. I have a hobby I enjoy, people who give me positive feedback every now and then. I have a job. I have a car, and I might get an apartment by the end of the year if I'm lucky and I save up. And that's really all I need. I'm very happy with the trajectory of my life so far. And I hope that whoever's watching this and sees this can get there too. Thank you for watching. I'll upload soon, maybe.